So if you yourself have doubt already, I think we got to go back to the drawing board and get that mindset right,
Mm,
because the doubt is going to stop you, or it'll take it longer. It'll take you much longer to achieve that. So I think don't have doubt, believe in yourself, have faith, and start surrounding yourself in events like with other people that are doing that, because then your belief level naturally will start to go up if you're in the right rooms with the right people.
Tim is one of the most authentic and genuine people I've ever met.
Sincerely believe he's coming from a position of giving, and that means a lot.
You're going to make huge progress.
Welcome everybody to today's Capital Raising Show. I'm your host, Tim Mai, and today I have an awesome guest on the line with us, Adrian Salazar. And Adrian is a full-time real estate investor, credit investor out of the San Antonio, Texas market. And he's only been in the family commercial real estate in the last 4 years. However, he have acquired and control over $80 million worth of real estate. His company, him and his partners have raised a good amount, over $20 million of to take down these deals. And he is in over 1,000 units. Plus he's in contract a few more hundred units. I see your goal down here, Adrian, that your goal is to raise $1 billion in equity, right? Of multifamily commercial real estate. That's a huge goal. It's a huge number. So I'm excited to learn more from you. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. All right. So share with everybody, share with us a little bit of your journey and what is the catalyst or pain points that got you into this multifamily space?
Sure. Yeah. So I got started, I would say the entrepreneurial bug bit me when I was about 15 or 16 years old. Prior to that though, my father was a car salesman. I grew up around him selling cars for 17 years. So he would sit me in the corner of his office and he'd be closing deals. And so I was just subconsciously building that sales bloodstream. So when I was 15, 16, I got introduced to a marketing company, a network marketing company, and they were selling health and wellness products. And I ended up, jumping on board. And what that did really is that the main thing that did was allow me to kind of think bigger and get introduced to the idea of personal development. I got introduced to people like, Think and Grow Rich, Jim Rohn, Napoleon Hill, Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins, all those people who are still making a drastic change in my life today. And so I basically opened up my mind to the possibilities of, greatness and what I could do through technology and through people and through just business in general. And so I was in that company for about a year and a half, and the company overnight went out of business. So I was one day on Facebook looking, through just, the feed, and I got an ad, a Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki real estate ad on Facebook. And I knew who he was through the personal development that I was doing before. So I already knew who he was. So I attended the event and all they were talking about was real estate. And I was 17 years old, hungry, burning desire. I was just a super motivated kid. And I knew that I wanted to do big things and travel the world and be financially free. And so basically a lot of light bulbs went off, and I attended a couple of these real estate networking clubs in San Antonio that were in my market. And I started meeting people and going into those rooms and seeing that people were having success and closing $5, $10, $20, $30,000 deals through wholesaling real estate or, finding motivated sellers. So I just really, got obsessed with it. And I met some people in the room and basically got trained by someone that I was working for free for about a year and a half, and learned the ropes of how to find off-market motivated sellers. And I got really good at it. So basically started wholesaling single family homes, and did about 60 to 70 houses. Before I really, to answer your second question, I got tapped out. I got tapped out because, it was very transactional. It wasn't scalable as I figured. Single family, I had to be driving all over town to go look at houses, and waited in traffic for 45 minutes and 45 minutes back for just one house and one door. So I just really started looking at other options, and I attended a couple of weekend multifamily events. And that's really when a bunch of more light bulbs went off and said, hey, this is how I can, travel the world, do what I want to do with whoever I want to do, wherever I want to do it, whatever time I want to do it, and build wealth and, all the tax appreciation behind it. And so it was just a no-brainer for me. So I started pulling lists of small multifamily apartments about 3.5 years ago, and did a couple of wholesale deals on small multifamily until I bought my first 16 unit and raised some money from it, friends and family. And then, fast forward now, we have 1,000 units and we're managing it ourselves. And so, yeah, I mean, it was definitely a challenge, but I sacrificed a lot, and I got plugged in, with the right people and the right education and the right rooms. And I took massive action. And that's the reason why I'm here today. But it was a journey. It was fun.
That's awesome. And so when you got into the multifamily space, did you join any, did you work under anybody like you did with a single family, how you got started with the single family? Did you join any mentoring program or mastermind programs, anything like that?
Yeah. So at the time, I couldn't wrap my head around paying, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for educational programs, because I knew how to find deals, right? In single family, I got really good at finding off-market direct to owner leads. Mm-hmm. So I figured, hey, let me just try to pull this, and let me try to skip trace it. Let me try to get my VAs on it and my sales guys on it to see if we can find the owner. And so I had really good success finding owners, and but I did have to take some educational courses, a couple $100 courses on underwriting. I took a few of Michael Blanc's programs on the SDA calculator. I got really familiar with it, and me and my business partner started really studying on how we can underwrite deals, but on our own time. Podcasting, there was a lot of free stuff on podcasts, YouTube. So we ended up pretty much getting the free resources that are out there just to educate ourselves and to try it out. Like, we didn't want to have a limiting belief that we need to be a part of a $50,000 program. So we just started taking action, and we started seeing results, and people were saying yes to our offers. And then we would just figure it out along the way. I mean, we bought the 16 unit. We didn't know exactly what we were going to do. We didn't know exactly how it was going to work out, but we figured it out along the way. And that's kind of what we've been doing. But now, we have partners and mentors that, teach us as we grow. Right.
Right. That's awesome.
But yeah, so I definitely did. Yeah. A lot of podcasting and books and YouTube and taking action.
Right. That's awesome. So let's talk about your 16 units. How much was the raise on that deal?
So we bought it for $570,000, and the raise was 180. And so again, that was probably one of the hardest things we've ever done, because it was our first deal. We had no track record on multifamily. We didn't have even, management experience. So the lender wanted us to hire a third-party property manager. We didn't really know. So, but we ended up getting, I think I got my dad to sign on the loan, a couple of family friends to sign on the loan. I mean, there was like 7 investors on a small little 16 unit. Like, I think we did it, like, we stretched that deal like so much. And then I ended up moving into it. Living inside the apartment complex, and I was like the manager. I was hiring the contractor, the maintenance guy. I was supervising the CapEx and doing the branding and doing the leasing on the little 16 unit, but again, I always refer back, even today, 1,000 units later, like, I still refer to that one little 16 unit, like, I actually know how to run a building. I'm not, just an operator who doesn't know that side of the business. Like, I was actually extremely involved. And so, I bring all that education and experience with me today. But yeah, that 16 unit did great. We ended up selling it 18 months later for almost a 2x return. So it was great. That's great. Yeah.
That's awesome. So with that many people involved in the deal, did you do an actual syndication deal, or did you structure it more like a JV deal?
It was a JV structure. Okay. When we started in the beginning, when we started looking at like a SEC attorney to do the syndication paperwork and stuff, it was just through the roof on the expense. Yeah. So we're like, let's just try to do it this other way and see if we can, get it to work out. And thankfully it did. A lot of the people that invested with us were people that I had built a reputation around in single family. Like, in single family, I think it's so important in this business to make sure you deliver on what you're going to say, to show up when you say you're going to show up on time, to be in the room, to genuinely help other people, because that is how you raise money. Like, that's how you raise money, by putting your brand out there and making sure you deliver on what you say. So a lot of the people in the single family space saw that I was transitioning into multi. So all these people really just gave me the money because they trusted me, and they knew exactly who I was as a person, as an individual, as a professional. And they knew I didn't have the track record, but they still wanted to, run with me. So it was very challenging to raise that 180,000, but we got it done. And that was the first one. That was the first breakthrough. And then shortly thereafter, 3 months later, we bought a 32 unit, and then 88, 200, 300, and so forth. So definitely the law of the first deal kicks in. I mean, we just needed to buy that deal, figure it out. And shortly thereafter, we started pouring in more deals.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you had many valuable lessons on that first deal for sure. You got to play all of the roles within that deal, right? From sourcing it to underwriting it to raising money for it and property manage it, asset manage it, all of that. Leasing too. So awesome.
And I started even like posting a lot on social media. Like I would post before and afters, I would post walkthroughs.
That's awesome.
I would post, my CapEx plan. And so people were asking me like, hey, I see you're in multifamily now. Like, how's that going for you? And that definitely helped. Like that one little deal, all those, a 16 unit, it really helped propel, the future of multifamily for me.
Okay. And so fast forward to now over 1,000 units. Share with us about a deal that you have a lot of challenge in raising capital for, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so I would say the most challenging raise was our 280 unit portfolios, 2 properties, Class C, mom and pop owner. There was probably 50 vacant units between all 280 units, and we had to raise about 8.2 million for it. And the raise prior to that was only 2 million. So we had to stretch ourselves drastically. We weren't going to be able to do the same thing that we did to raise 2 million. We had to do something different to raise 8 in a matter of 45 days. So we were pushing hard, and it was super challenging. We brought on a couple partners to help us with the raise and help us manage the asset moving forward. But we still raised a majority of it, a lot of it between me and my business partner, but we were calling people left and right. We were, here locally, here in the area, a lot of people know the area where that 280 unit is. So I'm actually from the city where it's at. So I have a huge network here. And so I basically had to set up a lot of meetings, and I had to, ask people to refer me to other buddies who may be interested, or we were also closing on this deal towards the end of the year. So a lot of people invest in these deals, and they're excited to invest in these deals because of the cost segregation behind it and the depreciation that happens at the end of the year. So I had to, go and talk to some high net worth individuals. It was challenging, but we got it done. $8 million, we raised it. And it's been a great deal. It's been challenging. It's one of the deepest Class C value adds we have. We have about a $1.5 million CapEx budget on it. So we're definitely deploying a lot of money every month. But we're doing good there. It was a challenging raise, but we got it done.
That's cool. So is Class C your primary type of deals that you target?
So it was, but now we want to go into the Bs. We want to try to stay above 80s, 1980s. There's just some things with the Cs. I love them. There's a lot of meat on the bone. They're juicy deals at the end, but they're just very time consuming, and you got to really have a team ready to go and ready to be on top of every single movement. And as I mentioned earlier, like when we buy our deals, we grow with the deal. Like we're not always ready. But we figure it out. And so I feel like the C's, they're great. I love them. But for now, I kind of want to calm down on the C's and just be buying some B's, but I'll take them on. Me and my business partner actually have a lot of construction experience. I studied construction, and he worked commercial construction for 10, 12 years. So we have that background to be able to take on a Class C. And we know, how to talk to the contractors and how to write the scopes and make contracts and all that. It's very consuming, very time consuming if you don't know what you're doing construction related. So I still want to do the C's, but right now, primarily, I'm going to start looking at the B's.
Gotcha.
Bigger.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I know your goal is to raise a lot more money now. Share with us your current sort of ideal investor profile now versus what you think it's going to be for you to raise the kind of money you're looking to raise.
So I think right now, actually, I would say before our investor criteria was, someone who was wealthy and could invest $50 to $100,000 and be okay with it, right? I also don't want to, have someone invest their last 50,000 with me, their last 100,000, because I don't want them to be so worried about that one particular amount. Although we've had that before, but I've just found it very consuming of energy, and I just have to tend to them a little bit more than someone who's worth $1 million and gives me 500,000. So I've had to start now making sure that they understand that that this is a long-term game, like this is not a quick flip. But ideally someone, I guess 80 to 90% of our investors are not in real estate. They're not in real estate. They're lawyers, dentists, we have some doctors, we have surgeons, we have oil field guys. So all these guys invest with us because they get taxed a lot and they're on a very high tax bracket. So we help them with the Class C's and the cost segregation and all the depreciation that we give them and the K1s. So our investor profile, someone who's wealthy, who has a career somewhere else, who makes his money somewhere else in another industry or even real estate, but just in a different way. And someone who has $250,000, 500,000, maybe even more money to invest in passively, and be okay with quarterly distributions, and be okay too with understanding, let's say on a deep value add Class C, that the first year it's going to be a lot of moving parts. I need them to understand that the first year we're going in there and changing the operations. We're changing the whole thing. We're cleaning out, there's going to be a vacancy, a decent vacancy. We're, cleaning it out. Maybe we're going to be pushing rents, implementing RUBS. People are going to leave, rebranding. So they need to be okay with it in the beginning, seeing the progress. And then, year 2, year 3, year 4 is when it really starts spitting out cash flow. And, I think that's really the profile. Someone wealthy, someone who could use it, some tax benefits, and making sure that their money invested with me is not their last life savings money. That's kind of the priority. And we send our monthly reports. We have an investor, portal and dashboard. We use Appfolio, and all the ACH distributions are ACH, and they're on the same time every month. So, it's a pretty cool software that we've developed, but really we have a lot of different profiles. Now I feel we're attracting people with, $500,000 to $1 million, individual investors with $1 million to $2 million. And those are the best too. All of them are great, right? But those are the ones who can just come in one check and cover a lot of the raise.
Right. So how are you, how do you find these people?
So in the beginning, when we were starting off, we started a meetup in San Antonio, and me and my partner committed to starting a meetup once a month for a year. And that really did help get us to probably 150 units just from the meetup. And, we had the meetup. I don't care if 5 people showed up, we still had it. 30 people showed up, we had it. And then we started developing our newsletter. So we would send out the newsletters. And like I said, I would post a lot on social media, the before and afters. People were curious about, what I'm doing. And then we started asking for referrals. And that's really when it changed the game, when we started really giving good distributions to our investors. And then we would ask them, hey, do you know anybody else who might be interested in something like this? And so then they started bringing their friends into the meetup or into our podcast or, into our newsletter, and they started getting aware of it. And it just it started spreading like wildfire, the word of mouth marketing. But a lot of it has come through social media as well. People, you'll be surprised who looks at your social media. A lot of people look at your social media and seeing what you do, and they want to be a part of it. You just got to really be different. But yeah, we've had, 4 or 5 exits already. So I think, they talk to their friends, and then more come now. But in the beginning, it was very challenging.
Okay. And so, with your goal to raise $1 billion, what kind of strategies, or what do you see to put in place for that?
So what we're going to start up is our podcast, again, kind of like the platform that you have. We definitely feel that a lot of people want to be hearing about what we got going on every month, or every other week or so. So we want to build this platform where people can kind of go on there, get educated, get value, see what we're doing. We can even have some breakout sessions, bring some expert guests in. I mean, a lot of people really do truly raise a lot of money through their podcast, but going more online, like what they were talking about, the event that I met you at. I mean, you want people to come to you, not you go to them, because it's not scalable. I can't be having one-on-one meetings all the time. I can't be having one-on-one phone calls all the time. Like, I want to be able to have a platform where I can share the information that I'm learning and share, insights and tips and value and experiences, maybe some bad, some good. And that way, people can click the link and sign up to be a part of our community. And I think once that's built out and there's a lot of followers and viewers, then we can very well easily raise $1 billion over a course of time, right? It's going to take time,
right.
But definitely it's got to get developed. And also, making sure we take care of the investors that we have now. I think that's number one goal, is to make sure we deliver on what we say we're going to deliver right now, because, most of these guys who are with us, they roll into the next deal and they roll into the next deal. And that, I mean, if you're really truly duplicating their money, then that just means that you have a snowball coming in of money. Because most of these guys don't want their money back when we sell. They're like, keep it going.
Right.
So if you can take care of the people you have right now, ask for referrals, have a good brand online, and have your monthly newsletter, have a good website, do media, drone shots, walkthroughs, before and afters, I think 1 billion is easy.
That's awesome. So I know, you're pretty young. You mind sharing how old you are to the audience?
Yeah, 27.
27. So you started investing 9 years ago. So that you would have been what, 18?
17. I started when I was 17.
Okay, 17, 18. That's really good. It's like, yeah. And so for someone's new, someone young, like your old self, right? Like you were when you first started. Been through what you've been through, from wholesaling single family to your transition to multifamily. What would you recommend a young person in their teens that wants to get into real estate? Where would you recommend them to go?
Sure. So I think the best kind of advice, and I get asked this and I have a few different answers, but as I've kind of really thought about it, I think number one thing is having the right mindset, because that's what's going to propel you. That's what's going to keep you motivated. That's what's going to keep you focused and driven and mature and disciplined. Your level of personal development, real estate is the vehicle. Multifamily is the vehicle. Wholesaling is the vehicle. Now the driver is the one that needs to make sure that he's ready for what he's about to embark in. So I think if I wouldn't have been ready personally, my mindset, I maybe would have tried it and then maybe fallen off. A lot of people try real estate, they attend the event, they get all fired up and they go home and they don't know how to self-motivate themselves. This business matters a lot about what you do when no one's looking. So if you're able to develop a mindset and just commit to this business, right? That's number one. That's the first tip that I would give, is to commit and to do some personal development, because this business works. Real estate works. You attend events, go to the rooms. There's people doing deals. There's people making millions of dollars. There's people living financially free. Now, that's not the question, is if it works or not. It's, do you work, right? So you have to make sure that you're ready for what you're about to embark in. And so number one, mindset, personal development, pick up Think and Grow Rich, pick up the books, listen to the tapes, take notes, set goals, and commit. That's number one. Number two is get educated. Get educated, start listening to the podcast, start speaking the language, start going to single family real estate events or multifamily real estate events to learn the educational part of the business. And then third, take action. You have to take action. You can't go to the events and have a bunch of notes and come back home and not do anything. You have to go out, pick up the phone, meet people, go to networking events, start a meetup, look for deals, talk to brokers, you have to take action. So number one, mindset. Number two, get educated. And number three, take action.
Awesome. I totally agree with you. Because that mindset's gonna guide everything else, right? So that's really great. And would you recommend them to start with single family, small multi, or bigger multi like you are now?
Big multi. Now that I can see it though, like at first I couldn't really see it. So I didn't do it because I couldn't see it. So now that I see it, I wish I would have started in multifamily and big deals. But I think, definitely skip single family. I don't believe that you need to go and do your first house and flip your first house before you get into multifamily. There are two complete different businesses. So you can start in multifamily. But what I would suggest for someone my age, and because I've done it, is start with smaller multi just to get familiar with, anywhere between 16 to maybe 50 units. You get mom and pop owners. It's not a crazy raise. It's not crazy earnest money. You can probably get a good loan. It's an easier barrier of entry compared to just going and buying a 200 unit apartment complex. But after you do a few, you'll start to realize that going bigger is much easier, and you can have a team and you can have an on-site manager and a full-time maintenance. On these smaller deals, you have to really have like floaters, and you have to have like virtual help if you're going to manage it yourself. But I would suggest definitely start multifamily and attend the events, get educated, and then start taking action, pull a list of small multis, maybe wholesale a couple of them just to get some, money in the bank, and then buy your next ones, hire a third-party management company and get involved with the management company. That's how you're going to learn. Like, ask them questions, see the reports, ask them what they're doing. Get involved, because that's what's going to help you go and take down these bigger deals, these 200 units and 300 units. So I would definitely suggest small multis and then go big.
That's awesome. So, so let's say they get into a deal. Now they're going to close on it. They're going to raise money for it. Especially if this is going to be the beginning, right? The first few deals. How would you recommend them to position themselves such that, the investors would trust them to invest with them?
Sure. So I think that a good way to get positioned is to start raising the money before, right? So start developing relationships with investors before, start building your database. All the business cards that you get in events, you need to have a database of where you're putting all this information. You need to have a CRM of the phone number, the email, what they like to invest in, just a contact database. That way, when you get the deal, you go back to your database. It's not deal first, then raise money. It's raise money and find a deal. And then once you get good traction on that deal and get a good, contract, then you can go back to your list and say, hey, remember all those deals that I was telling you that I'm looking for? And remember that type of deal, that I said before when we met that if I find, I want to call you about, like that, I have it, it's here. So you got to work your list, keep them involved. Even if you don't have any deals, like you can still find something to include in the newsletters. You could still find something. Go walk a buddy's multifamily apartment complex and tell them about the new AIM-NatCon event you attended. There's things that you can always do to be working this list. That way you can be more prepared when the deal comes and you get the contract. You don't want to do that after. So I think you got to be proactive about it. Look for deals and dollars at the same time. That way it's easier. It's easier after.
That's awesome. I love that. And so what kind of events, both, within real estate, outside of real estate, would you recommend them to attend to build their network?
Definitely Brad's. I think Brad's event really changed, the course of my life in the beginning. Rat Race to Retirement. I've attended Michael Blanc's, real estate events. Tim Bratz has a great podcast. Jake and Gino have great, educational platforms, and they have podcasts. They have podcasts with hundreds of episodes with experts, like literally experts. Like there's attorneys on there that charge, $400 or $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour. And they gave a free hour of their time to jump on a podcast and share valuable information. So, sometimes what's free is expensive for people. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I think you have to go on and get educated, and these experts have the education at least to just get started. And yeah, I mean, all these events are really good. YouTube, podcasts, learn how to underwrite, and find a business partner. Find someone who, if you're not good at sales, you got to find someone at sales. If you don't know how to underwrite, find someone that can underwrite. So I think you definitely got to be proactive about your team and how you're going to get to where you want to go.
Right. That's awesome. And just in case the audience, if you don't know who Brad is, it's Brad Sumrock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. And yeah, so with the market, the changing market, right, with the interest rate going up and all of that stuff, what challenges are you facing and how are you overcoming them?
So right now we're being a little bit more conservative when it comes to new deals. Our underwriting has changed. I mean, I don't want to say drastically, but yeah, it has changed drastically. But right now we're looking on this, we're buying 100 units in the next month or so, and we're assuming they're a loan. So you're probably going to start seeing some loan assumptions now, and some creative financing, like seller financing. You got to get creative with your offers. One thing we like to do is bring the owners back into the deal. Like if we can't get them whatever price that they want, we offer them to keep a little bit of stake in the deal, and maybe we, can get a discount on the price. Like you got to get really kind of creative, and as well as with the money raising for CapEx, like maybe there's some things that you don't need to do that you can still get the same ROI for. So you got to get very detail with the underwriting. But at the same time, with our current portfolio, we do have a couple floaters we have bridge debt on a couple deals. And I mean, our payment is obviously going a lot higher. I mean, there was a property that, our debt service was 100,000 and within a few months it's 150,000. So, I mean, that's a huge difference. So because we're vertically integrated, I talk to the team a lot. I'm very proactive with the team. So I push leasing, I push, renewals, I push other income, I push, maybe slowing down CapEx on certain things, reallocating a few CapEx line items into the unit interiors. So I'm very actively, changing things because of the changes in the market. And also at the same time, we're doing events for the residents. We're doing, if you pay rent before the 3rd, you're into a raffle to just give them incentives to pay rent sooner. That way we can make sure we get all the money in on these properties where we have floating debt. But we're going to be looking into refinancing sometime next year and maybe get a better loan. But as far as new deals, we're being very more conservative and looking for maybe a loan assumption type deal or some creative financing.
That's awesome. Okay. What are some of your favorite tools or resources that you use in your business?
So we use Appfolio, right? Appfolio for management and also investor management. So we have that Appfolio for the property management. We have Appfolio for investor relations and distributions. And we also use Podio as a CRM for tracking acquisitions and tracking, follow-ups and drip campaigns. We use CallRail for call tracking. We use MailChimp for our newsletters. We use, G Suite, Gmail, all the team uses all that. And that's really it. I mean, majority of the stuff is Appfolio, CallRail, Podio. And I also have some VAs who are skip tracing leads, finding owners, and sending mail.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you're still doing a lot of off-market deals because I mean, these kind of marketing is direct to owners. So in terms of the bigger deals, right? How are you still able to find them off-market like that?
Yeah. 90 to 95% of the deals that we've bought, 1,000 units now, have been direct to the owner. So
Wow.
it's just a little bit more challenging though, because you have to go through the companies and you have to, I mean, they're owned by multiple entities. They're owned by, I mean, an LP, a GP, or, just some other companies that you have to really scrub through to find a name, an address. And then once you get to the name and address, then I send it to another VA, and then that VA gives me phone numbers, emails, and then I have to plug it into the drip campaigns and to, the outbound marketing, and then have some callers. So it's definitely more intense. But like I mentioned earlier, I got really good at that in early on. I got extremely good at finding deals. So I feel like we have a very slight edge in the market because I don't play defense and wait for brokers or agents to send me an email with a deal. I go out and I play offense and I go try to find the deal. So it's definitely a lot more challenging, but I'm an adrenaline junkie. I'm a deal junkie. If I don't have any new deals, I start panicking and I start looking for deals. So there's a lot of ways. I mean, we've found owners through Facebook Marketplace. We've found owners through Facebook, LinkedIn. I mean, Google. Sometimes I've showed up to the owner's house. So I mean, all kinds of different ways, but I play offense. I don't like to wait.
I see.
I've developed a system.
I see. And what would you say might be sort of like the cap out point where it's like, okay, these, let's say 200 plus units, like these owners only will sell through brokers. So what, off market directly to owners, what would you say is the high end of the market would be in terms of number of units?
That's a good question. I think I would say a good 200. I think there's some mom and pops still in the 150, 120, 180. I know a lot of people that are mom and pop that are still running those deals themselves. So I would say 200 plus, really you start tapping into more, New York style owners and California guys. And so it's a little bit more challenging, and they want to make sure that, they do things right, and they want to go through a broker. And so, I mean, I think also, like, as long as you can sell yourself to the owner and really just have that confidence that you're actually going to close, I don't see why the owner would say, hey, I'm going to go with a broker. Like, also, I think it's beneficial for the owner to go with directly the buyer because they're going to save a lot of money on commissions, right? So, but there's some amazing brokers out there. I don't want to put anyone down. I mean, there's some amazing agents, amazing brokers out there that we've worked with in the past. But again, I don't play defense. I play offense. If I don't have any new deals, I'm not just going to sit there, right? So,
are all your deals in San Antonio area or in Texas, or where are they?
Yeah, so primarily they are in San Antonio and McAllen. So McAllen's down south, a good 3.5 hours south of San Antonio. We have about 750 in McAllen, and we have 120 units right now in San Antonio. And probably going to get another 200 under contract San Antonio. So yeah, San Antonio Central and South, and then we're going to start looking to expand between San Antonio and Austin. So that whole I-35 corridor, San Marcos, Kyle, all those areas, we'll start picking up properties there, and then eventually go into Dallas and Houston, the tertiary markets in those areas. And yeah, Texas is just booming. Texas is doing great. I don't think we need to look anywhere else right now unless we just truly tap out all of our resources here. But as I went to that event and they were talking about Atlanta and Nashville and Tampa, I mean, sometimes I get that urge of just, pulling a list out there and seeing if maybe I can find some owners, and partner with people, right? Partner with other people that's why I love multifamily. I mean, this is a team sport, and there's a bunch of different players in the game. So you can, bring the deal and bring a little bit of money, and you can partner with a couple people that bring other attributes. But yeah, primarily Texas right now, it's just a great state. But we will be expanding very soon.
So you mentioned about pulling lists. Are there some list providers that you like?
Yeah. So I've used CoStar, I've used ListSource, I've used PropStream, I've used Reonomy, I've used Prospect Now. All those lists. When I didn't have a lot of money, I was just getting the free trials, free trial, and I was just looking at the lists and working those lists. But I wouldn't think too much of it. Definitely what I would do is choose a few different list providers and pick 3 markets and pick, whatever unit numbers you want to attack, and then just focus on those three, and then cross-reference every single list provider, because maybe one provider has, a complex that the other one doesn't. So I would cross-reference them all, create one master list, and then go one by one by one by one, like knock them all out, and build a relationship. Don't come across as like, I just want to buy your deal. Like, no, like you want to make a new friend, you want to get to know them, you want to see if there's anything that you can help provide value to them, and get to know them, and then build a relationship, and then ask, have you ever thought about selling? And so some people are typically not ready now, but you got to have a follow-up campaign and then call them back later. Right. And same thing with investors. I mean, they're not all ready to invest now, but you have to have a follow-up campaign in the sales funnel, because if not, you won't be able to really produce much.
Gotcha. So what would be your first, couple of sentences of, how you initiate the conversation?
Sure. So if it's a straight cold call, I say, hi, am I speaking with John? And then they're going to be like, who's this? Right. And that's when I'll say, completely sorry that this call is out of the blue. This is a complete random call, but I found your phone number on an online database, and I'm calling other owners who may own apartment complexes to see if anybody may be interested in selling. I just moved into the Texas market, and I am not being represented by a broker right now. I'm just looking to go directly to the owners and see if anybody might be open to selling. I'm looking to expand my portfolio and grow it. And I'm calling around a couple people. I found some numbers online, and I'm just calling around a couple different apartments in that area because your property fits my criteria. So have you ever thought about selling? It's very, very warm and very natural.
Right.
And I let them know, I just moved into the Texas market. I came from California, or just maybe I'm sitting on a 1031 and I'm calling around different owners. Like, make up an excuse as to why you're just calling him, and then it makes it easier, because they're going to be like, how'd you get my number? And well, I was looking online on some databases, some free online databases. I called 20 different numbers until I got this number. So, so that way they don't freak out.
Right.
But make it very natural and let them know that, you're looking to buy, and, calling around a few owners.
That's awesome. That's really, really good stuff. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right. So if you were to start over again, is there anything you would do differently?
I would start in multifamily. I would not have gone 4 years in single family. I know a couple other buddies who started like me, and they have a lot more units and they have a lot more success in multifamily than me, because they just started in multi a lot sooner. So I definitely would want to go bigger much sooner, and grow the team a lot faster. I think right now, the team is amazing now and huge, but it took me a while to understand that, like, I have to build a team behind it. So I would definitely build a bigger team in the beginning. I would go bigger, straight into multifamily, and that's really it. Those are the two main things.
All right, awesome. And so, we're going to be wrapping up this interview here. The folks that want to reach out to you, connect with you, where would you like to send them?
So to my Instagram, I think I'm very active on there, on social media, on Instagram. You can find me Adrian Salazar _. I post, all kinds of walkthrough videos, the good, the bad, the ugly. So I'm very active there. And if you want to send me a message, I'll respond pretty quickly. And I'd love to chat with any of your listeners and give them any sort of tips, advice, anything that I can do to help. Other people help me, so it's my job to pass it forward. And you can find me on social media.
That's awesome. So one last wisdom here, the listeners might be listening to this and says, he's Adrian. He has done 1,000 units. His goal is to do $1 billion or raise $1 billion. There's no way I can come even close to that. And so, to even raise 10 million or 100 million is so far out of reach for them. What would you say to them?
You have to believe it. Because if not, you're the only one person that has the ability to achieve that. And if you're already doubting yourself, like, I think we got to go back to the drawing board, and step number one, the mindset. You got to really, have some sort of, faith. You have to have faith, and you have to have, the belief in yourself, because, no one's going to believe in you if you just randomly wake up one day and say, I'm in the multifamily business, I'm going to buy 1,000 units, and I don't care what anybody says, I'm going to buy 1,000 units. Like, most people are not going to support that or even see your vision. So if you yourself have doubt already, I think we got to go back to the drawing board and get that mindset right, because the doubt is going to stop you, or it'll take it longer. It'll take you much longer to achieve that. So I think, don't have doubt, believe in yourself, have faith, and start surrounding yourself in events like with other people that are doing that, because then your belief level naturally will start to go up if you're in the right rooms with the right people. And then you're going to walk out of the room and say, I can do it. I can actually do that. I can actually raise $1 billion of private equity. So when you believe it and when you have faith, then what's going to happen is that law of attraction, you're going to start getting people, circumstances, events, situations into your life that will help you get to where you want to go. But if you don't believe it, and if you don't believe in yourself, it won't happen. You won't be aware of those different things that the universe brings to you to be able to help you get to where you want to go, right? Have the vision board. I mean, print your vision board, play it. I mean, write down your goals, believe in them, put emotion behind it. And then you'll start getting, again, the people, the circumstances, and you'll find the events that'll help you get to where you want to go. But you have to really believe in yourself, and don't doubt yourself, and commit.
That's awesome. Folks, you heard the man. Reach out to him on social, follow him, get on his list, and yeah, check out the deals that he's doing. The best way I've found to learn this business is to invest into the deals of the people that I want to learn from. And like, that's like the quickest, because now you have skin in the game, right? So, so make sure you do that. Reach out to Adrian. Adrian, thank you so much, buddy, for doing this interview with me. I enjoyed it a lot. I learned a ton. Really appreciate you.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody. See ya.